All right, welcome back. This is M-Dog. We are at Old Burg doing a little carp fishing. One of the things that I end up getting asked a lot about is places to fish for carp for sort of that mid-level player who maybe hasn't quite made it to amber, but does have fairly decent carp gear, at least where they feel like they can make an attempt at carp fishing. So it's always good to find spots. A lot of times it will be on bear. Obviously, sometimes there is just really good carp fishing on bear, and there may be some okay spots on bear right now, but I think bear has had a little bit of a slower week for the most part. So I wanted to test out this spot and see if it might be worth your time if you are a player who doesn't have access to amber or just feel like fishing at Old Burg. Coordinate wise, we are at 0850, and I will show you on the map where that is. It's right in the corner of A4. And this is what we've caught so far. Just ignore the times because I was away for 2 hours and didn't have any lines in the water. But notice that we've only had one black carp. So this, so far, at least with the baits I've been trying, does not seem like a black carp farm at all. It seems like that they will be very rare, if at all. And then, for the most part, it's an even split between commons and grass carp, with the largest fish being a couple of commons and then some okay grass carp size, but nothing too big. So in that sense, it kind of works nice if you don't have top tier carp gear, but still want to catch carp pretty consistently without getting into the big boys. And I guess you still could get into a big one, but it's probably going to be, pretty seldom. Most of them are going to be more manageable size grass and common carp. So I have tried several different baits, and there's no question that overall the best bait is going to be potatoes. In my mind, at least, there's no question. And I've used large 1/0 hooks, just trying to, again, get a little bit better average on fish size. But even doing that, as you can see, we're getting tons of small, specialty commons, but some small grass carp too mixed in. But the bite rate's nice. And we're using such cheap bait and ground bait. The ground bait, by the way, is just standard grass black carp ground bait. And so, one thing I haven't tried that you could try is instead of using the black grass carp mix, you could just go with regular carp mix and see if that swings it towards common carp a little bit more. I don't know that it would be that drastic of an effect, though, but it might be worth testing. Other baits I've tried, well, right now we have on cabbage leaf on one. I tried honey dough. I also tried a smaller size cocoa cream boilie and corn, which did okay. But as far as bite rate and even size of the carp, potatoes has done as good, if not better, than anything. So just use nice cheap potatoes. You can make them from a very low level. And it's fun. I mean, and if you are, I'm trying to kind of use up some of these old pieces of, I don't think the thing that I put on there was actually regular. I'm trying to use up some of these old stacks of black and grass carp. Now we are coming into sort of the ideal time of day. I mean, sort of first thing in the morning and then last thing in the afternoon, evening. So maybe we'll see one or two a little bit bigger. But if you are like a mid-level player, and I say mid, I'm thinking like in the 20s or low 20s especially, and you have gear that you want to try to patiently fish for carp, even though a lot of these are small, it still adds up. It's okay silver, and when you hit the big ones, it certainly is nice XP for that level. And the other thing I'll mention is with all these small ones, anything over 2 kilos, it'd actually be pretty nice to use to level up cooking a little bit. I like making, because it's pretty cheap once you have the carp, I like making the fried carp. And of course, we're not that far on the map from camp. And so once we're done in this spot, we could go fry up some carp and have some, pretty inexpensive but very filling food options. Just so you don't have to stare at a starving fisherman. And as you've maybe seen since even I've been recording here, we're getting some okay grass carp. And the cabbage has been really slow. So again, I just think it's probably better with potatoes on all three. Now there's other things we could try, like we could try, instead of cabbage, we could try algae. I have caught some fish on cabbage, by the way. It's not like the worst slow, but it's just nowhere near as active as potatoes. We could try algae. The reason why I didn't start with algae testing is because for lower level players, sometimes algae is just not available. According to how aggressively you have leveled up your bait harvesting and if you've gotten a scoop and all that. But yeah, I think it's, oh, by the way, it's an 8-meter clip. I don't think I ever said that. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's a short clip, but I'm using 8 meters here. I am out on this dock just to kind of get a nice little angle here right over the lilies. But you could, the danger with that, of course, is if you move around a lot, it's possible you could fall off into the water and then spawn back at town or something. So I try to be very still, and I have really strong carp gear, so I have yet to catch a fish here that actually was pulling line or doing anything that would make me think I needed to move. But if I did need to move, I would just try to very carefully come off of there first and then move. But yeah, if you don't want to take that chance, just do 8 to 9 clip from here. It'd be same thing, I think. So we're just getting a lot of these small marker grass carp, and then the commons have been more all over the place. Some decent ones, and then also some really small commons. But as you can see, on potatoes at least, it is a nice, steady bite rate. So like if you have all 3 on potatoes, it's a pretty fun little spot. And you're using such a cheap bait and relatively inexpensive ground bait that it is totally fine to have to, catch several smaller carp before you finally hit the 10-kilo one. So is that a new largest one? Yeah, it's the largest one in this spot so far. But it is that time of day where it seems like there's a little better chance that a nice one will come in. So if you're high level, this kind of spot to me doesn't replace like a really good spot at amber, which there are some decent spots at amber right now. But if you just want to break and want to fish at Old Burg, maybe you're wanting to go for eel or something at night and just want to do something during the day, this would be a fun little spot to incorporate into your Old Burg day. Or if you can't go to amber yet and bear's a little cold for you this week, but you're really itching to fish for carp, I think this would be a good option. Anytime it's a short clip like this, obviously you could consider doing some sort of match rod, some sort of float fishing approach as well. Probably have some decent success like that also. Still no bite on algae. I was hoping we might see something come in. I think like with the boilies I tried earlier, it was still catching fish, but it was just so much slower than potatoes, and the quality of the fish wasn't, at least not consistently, wasn't any better than what we're catching on potatoes. So, but this is a nice bite rate with potatoes. But I was thinking with algae or I always forget cabbage leaf, the name of cabbage leaf. With algae or cabbage leaf, I was wondering if we might be able to increase that chance of black carp a little bit, but I just don't know if this spot's really going to have them. So small, some of these guys. It's another common, isn't it? So the 1/0 hooks really may not be doing anything here. Might be just as good just to use large 1 hooks. Honey doe was slow, unfortunately. I was thinking, like with large 1 hooks and honey doe, would we catch carp and then occasionally something else decent like a tench or whatever, but again, it just didn't seem to compare to potatoes. Potatoes still seemed the way to go. We'll just give it a little bit more time here as we get towards nighttime. And then we'll wrap it up and we'll run back to town real quick just to see what kind of silver it is. It's going to be impossible for me to tell you how long this was. I mean, it looks like about 50 minutes. So it's going to be about an hour and 20 minutes or something like that, hour and 25, something like that. So, but it's not a consistent hour and 25 minutes, so that matters, the fact that it's not consistent. First fish on algae. So it's not bad. It's a little bigger than average grass carp. It might be worth sitting on algae on one if it really does that. Algae or the cabbage leaf. If over the course of a few fish you see that you are getting a little bit larger average. But I would at least have 2, if not all 3 on potatoes, just because of the bite rate, and you're still getting occasionally, mid-sized carp mixed in with all the small ones. It's a cool little spot. I'm not sure I've ever actually fished this spot before. If I have, I just don't remember. Kind of looks like a tench spot, and I may have fished this spot. I don't think I've ever done it from this little dock like we're doing it. I may have fished for this might have been a tench spot like 6 months ago. It might have been right here. I'm sort of thinking it might have been now that I'm looking at it. There's so many of these little spots though. Sort of unless I've fished it a lot, it kind of blends in with a lot of the other ones. Oh, is this oh my goodness, this back in the day, some of these were really worse spots, like between these trees, and there was even another one that was even more often. I think it had a bunch of logs and stuff. It might have been on the other side of the bridge, because this bridge didn't used to be here. I think the one I'm thinking of course, this was an eel spot not long ago, right here. I think this is what I'm thinking of. Back in the day, I don't know. I felt like the trees were closer together than that. I may not be able to remember now. It wasn't all the way down this close to the boot. It was somewhere up here. It was one of these spots where there were like trees in your field of view. And then, but anyway, tench spot, and then just like crucian gibble and that kind of stuff. I remember as a low-level player fishing over here on this part of the lake. Okay, we'll see if we hopefully have another bite or two here, and then we'll head back to town. I think I see some blinking. Is that blue blinking? Actually, it looks like the fish is on, doesn't it? It pushed the bait. Yeah, there it is. I wish we'd get some action real quick on the algae, just to get a second fish on algae to see what that looks like. If I was using 3 potatoes, I might even try 2-0 hooks. If you're wanting to get larger ones. I mean, this could end up being perfect for some people that just don't necessarily have the gear for the biggest carp, but with a decent bite rate could kind of farm the spot nonetheless and get some okay experience and somewhat decent silver. But that is very likely a grass carp with how long this nibble is lasting. I think it's on now. Let's make sure it keeps going. Yeah. We're just going to go till midnight. I think the spot slows a little bit at midnight and then starts picking back up at 3:30 a.m. If you did get a really big carp on, and you didn't quite have the gear for it, it's probably going to run left. In most situations, you can definitely help it run left if you need it to. And then that just gives you some real estate. There's a pretty, decent chance it'll kind of come over here into the shallows and may not keep going, or it may sort of stop over here for a while, which would help you tire it out. But even if it does keep going, you just kind of have to keep moving with it. And unless you have a really small spool, you normally can stay with a big carp at Burg. Looks like that might have been our last fish. Pack it up. So the only other thing I'm going to do is go check Cafe and at least give you an estimate on kind of where we are silver wise on, hour and 20-30 minutes at the spot. It's not going to be great, but according to what level you are, it might be okay, and it also just gives you a chance to fish for carp. Yeah, let's go to town. I may save the smaller ones and come, like I said, cook up some fried carp, but sometimes there are common and grass carp orders, so we'll see if we get lucky on that. I don't know, that feels like a spot that might not produce too many trophies. You'd have to be really patient for that, I would think, but no orders at all. That white bream order is doable right now on float. Alright. Oh, that's not bad. I guess the bite rate is so strong it adds up. 255 silver. That's actually more than I would have thought it would have been. Yeah, so that's not bad at all. And there was the one black carp, but again, I just don't know that that's going to come out with any reliability. Okay. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.